Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to your sleep story. I am Theresa Noye, your radical self-love coach. I work with high-achieving women who typically put themselves last to love themselves enough to put themselves first. You deserve to love, cherish, and honor yourself without guilt because your well-being matters. It gives me great joy to be the voice that guides you into a restful sleep tonight. You are so deeply loved. Your existence is the proof. Before we begin tonight's sleep story, let's start with a relaxation session. I'm going to count down from 10 to 1, and as I do, allow yourself to let go more and more. 10. Feel the support beneath you, the support of your bed, the floor, and the earth beneath. Imagine the warm sand of a beautiful beach cradling you, holding you with the earth's gentle strength. Allow that certainty, that solidity to enable you to release a little more, to sink into this moment a bit more. 9. You are safe. All is well. Allow my voice to be a point of safety for you. Allow my voice to be an anchor that keeps you in a safe space. Know that my voice will only ever bring you into safe places. Feel it into your body now. Notice where you might be holding tension. Maybe your feet, your hands, your face, or your belly. Just release it all. Your body has worked hard for you today. It's time for it to rest. It deserves rest. 8. Today is done. Whatever has been, has been. Whatever will be, will be. All you have is now. So thoughts about the day that just was, or days that are to come, don't serve you right now. Allow that realization to enable you to settle into this moment more. 7. This is your moment. You have nowhere to be, nowhere to go. The only place you need to be is here, enjoying this cozy sleep story and the sound of my voice. You deserve it. 6. You deserve it. You deserve rest. You deserve sleep. You deserve to be here. Allow that fact to help you let go a little more. 5. Perhaps allow yourself to feel a little gratitude now. Gratitude for this moment. Gratitude for the ability to rest. Gratitude for the simple things. Your breath, the shelter you have tonight, the opportunity to switch off in a place of safety. 4. Embrace the coziness of this moment, the coziness of lying down in a safe space, moving towards sleep in the beautiful act of storytelling. 3. Begin to engage with your imagine now. Engage with your imagination. Picture a beach in the Caribbean, a secluded spot on the beautiful island of Barbados, isolated from the rest of the world, or another favorite spot that you may have. Allow yourself to engage. Bring that picture to mind and check in with your body again. Make sure you're not holding tension anywhere. Release and allow yourself to sink a little deeper. 2, completely let go now as I tell you tonight's sleep story. The winding path up the mountain meandered gently beneath a canopy of fresh green leaves. Along the trail, wildflowers bloomed in bursts of colors. Bright buttercups, soft bluebells, and delicate alpine violets stretching toward the afternoon sun. The air was crisp, but not cold, laced with the scent of pine, the earth, and something faintly sweet, like new blossoms. As you rounded the final bend, it appeared, the chalet. Nestled among the trees, it looked as though it had grown there, rising naturally from stone and timber, wrapped in ivy and kissed by the season's first blooms. A few windows were open, letting the breeze carry in the gentle sounds of birdsong and the distant burble of a stream. The golden light spilling from within was soft and inviting, as though the house had exhaled just in time for your arrival. You paused for a moment. Let yourself take it in. Not just the view, but the feeling of being expected, the feeling of arrival. The heavy wooden door opened with a smooth creak, and as you stepped inside, warmth wrapped around you. Not just the warmth of the hearth, but of something deeper, something familiar. The scent of aged books, sun-warmed wood, and a hint of lavender greeted you. Floorboards creaked softly underfoot, as if sighing in welcome. To your left, a fireplace crackled with a soft fire, more for ambiance than heat. And above it, an old clock ticked steadily, marking time in its own gentle rhythm. The library extended beyond the main room, shelves lining the walls like quiet sentinels. Some of the windows remained open, and gauzy curtains danced lazily in the breeze. You caught the scent of fresh rain, though the skies were now clear. Somewhere nearby, a kettle hissed faintly. Outside, the world was in bloom, but here inside, everything felt still, peaceful, and held in place by time and intention. You moved toward a reading nook by the window. Cushions were fluffed, a soft throw was folded neatly, and the windowsill offered a view of the mountain meadow, dotted with tiny flowers swaying in the breeze. And in this place, something subtle began to shift inside you. Not a grand revelation, not a dramatic undoing, just a soft unspooling. A gentle reminder that you didn't have to brace yourself here. You didn't have to fix anything. Here among the trees and the stories, the breeze and the books, you were safe to be exactly who you were in this moment. And perhaps, for the first time in a long time, you felt it. the joy of returning to yourself. You stepped further into the chalet, your fingertips brushing the edge of a polished wooden banister. The place felt sacred, but not because it was pristine. It felt sacred because it had been lived in, loved, prepared for you, not in grand gestures, but in quiet ones, the kind that matter most. The library revealed itself more fully now. Through an arched doorway, you entered a sunken room, wrapped in warm-toned wood and natural light. Shelves reached upward, their curves matching the slope of the ceiling. Each shelf was filled with books of every size and shade, some new and bright, others weathered and worn, with cracked spines and handwritten notes in the margins. They weren't organized by any rule you could name, they simply belonged. A tall window looked out over a sloping hillside, blanketed in wildflowers, lupine, forget-me-nots, daisies, all gently swaying in the breeze. In the distance, you could hear the faint trickle of melting snow winding down the mountainside, nourishing everything in its path. Life was happening all around you, not in a rush, but in a rhythm. A rolling ladder perched near the tallest shelves, while small stools and tucked away tiers invited you to linger in the corners. You could feel it. The room wanted to be explored, but only at your pace. There was no need to chase anything here. In the center of the library stood a low round table. Upon it, a simple ceramic teapot with steam curling skyward, a cup waiting beside it, and a soft cloth napkin folded with care. The tea had been steeping just long enough. You didn't need to ask what kind it was. You could already smell it. Chamomile, maybe, with a touch of citrus and something floral. It grounded you, made you want to breathe deeper. You poured a cup, wrapped your hands around the warm porcelain, and made your way to a nearby armchair. The cushion welcomed you, soft and supportive. A hand-woven throw, thin and perfect for the season, draped over the back. The moment you sat down, your entire body responded. The kind of exhale that only happens when the nervous system finally believes you're safe. You hadn't realized how much weight you've been carrying. A book rested on the table beside your tea. No title, no markings, just soft, well-loved leather. When you picked it up, it felt known. Not remembered exactly, but known. Like a song you've only ever heard in a dream. You opened it slowly, expecting blank pages. But there were words, stories. Not of far-off places or imagined lands, but of you, your life, your laughter, your pauses, pages filled with quiet moments you'd forgotten to treasure, joys you'd delayed, truths you'd softened to be more acceptable. But here, on these pages, they stood untouched, tender and true. This wasn't a story you needed to write. It was one you were finally ready to read. The breeze stirred the curtains again. Birds chirped, and the scent of green things growing filled the room. Outside, spring was awakening the earth. Inside, something was awakening in you. You sat with the book open in your lap, your tea cradled in your hands, and for the first time in a long time, there was nothing to do. No identity to protect, No role to play, just the simple, radical act of being with yourself, fully, lovingly, here, now. The fire crackled softly in the hearth, not with urgency, but with ease, a kind of background warmth that asked nothing of you. Outside the open windows, birds called to one another in playful bursts, and the breeze carried the scent of lilac and damp stone. The air had that unmistakable spring quality, alive, hopeful, washed clean by recent rains. Later, you stepped outside. The wooden door gave a familiar, contented sigh as it opened, and you were greeted by the gentle hush of early evening. The sun hung low in the sky, casting golden ribbons of light across the trees and wildflowers that bordered the chalet. A small path of smooth stones guided your feet around the side of the house, where a garden waited, tucked away and half wild, as if nature had shaped it with her own soft hands. There were herbs planted in crooked rows, lavender, thyme, mint, mingling freely with bright tulips, low-growing violets, and tall stems of columbine swaying in the breeze. Bees buzzed softly, unbothered by your presence, and somewhere near the trellis, a pair of butterflies danced like they just remembered how light they were. You inhaled deeply. The air was filled with the scent of sun-warmed earth and new growth. There was no sharpness here, no rush, just the slow unfolding of life doing what it does best, becoming. A golden bench sat beneath a flowering dogwood tree, its branches heavy with pink and white blooms. You moved toward it and sat down, letting your shoulders drop and your arms rest in your lap. From here, you could see the gentle slope of the valley below. A stream wove its way through the land like a silver thread, and beyond it, trees reached for the sky, their leaves just beginning to show the fullness of spring. It was quiet, but not empty. The world was speaking in subtle ways, in the whisper of leaves, in the hum of life, in the steadiness of your own heartbeat syncing with the natural world. And in that stillness, a thought arrived, not a loud one, not the kind that demands action or attention, but one that rises like mist from the soil, soft, clear, undeniable. You don't have to chase your peace. It's already within you, like seeds that know when to bloom. You closed your eyes and let the idea root deeper. So much of your life had been spent doing, striving, preparing, but this garden, this moment, this breath was reminding you that becoming isn't always active. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's what happens when you stop tending everyone else's garden long enough to remember your own. You opened your eyes and looked out again. The shadows had stretched farther now, and the sun dipped lower behind the peaks. A breeze moved through the garden, lifting your hair and wrapping around you like a shawl. It didn't ask you to move, it simply acknowledged your presence. The way life does when you slow down enough to meet it where it already is. You stayed there for a while, long enough to feel the sun's final warmth, long enough to let your breath fall into rhythm with the wind, long enough to hear your own thoughts soften and stretch like petals turning toward light. When you finally stood, you didn't need to rush back inside. You didn't feel the need. The path would be there. The books would wait. but something had shifted in you. You weren't just visiting stillness anymore, you were becoming it. Walking the stone path back to the chalet, you didn't feel like someone escaping the world. You felt like someone who had remembered how to belong to it, gently, fully, in rhythm with the seasons. The door opened easily as you stepped back inside. The scent of wood and paper welcomed you home again. But this time, you brought the garden with you. Back inside the chalet, the warmth greeted you like an old friend. The fire had faded into a slow glowing pulse, just enough to cast a golden light that danced along the wooden floor and the spines of books nearby. The windows remained slightly open, letting in the cool evening air and the faint scent of honeysuckle and damp leaves. You moved slowly now, not because you were tired, but because your body had finally remembered how to move without urgency. The book you had been carrying, the one without a title, was still with you, but it felt different in your hands. Heavier, not in weight, but in meaning. The pages no longer just held memories, they carried presence. They held pieces of you that had never needed fixing, only witnessing. You placed the book on the low wooden table by the reading nook and poured the last of the tea. The cup was still warm, still fragrant with notes of chamomile and spring herbs. You curled up into the chair once more, your legs tucked beneath you, and pulled the soft throw over your lap. Through the window, the sky had deepened into a shade of periwinkle, that in-between moment just before night fully arrives. Fireflies began to flicker in the garden, tiny lanterns floating in rhythm like the breath of the earth itself. Inside, the quiet deepened, not silent, but sacred. You sipped your tea slowly. Each swallow was like a grounding anchor, tethering you not to the past or future, but right here, right now. And with each sip, you felt more of yourself return, not as a performance or an achievement, but as a presence, a remembering. You looked again at the open book. Its pages had turned as if by breeze or intention. And now a single sentence stood out in the gentle script across the center of the page. There is nothing to become, only more of you to remember. The words echoed in your chest. How many seasons had passed with you chasing growth like a destination? How many days had you measured your worth by your output, your progress, your polished presentation? But here, now, you saw something else. Growth doesn't always look like striving. Sometimes it looks like stillness, like softening, like being rooted and trusted that the blooming will come not from effort, but from alignment. You let the book rest on your lap and leaned your head back against the chair. The last of the daylight kissed the horizon and the room exhaled with you. Your eyes drifted closed, not in resistance, but in surrender. You weren't falling asleep. You were blooming inward, the same way the daffodils outside had opened at the first warmth of morning, the same way the trees had unfurled their leaves without question. You too were allowing something ancient and sacred to emerge, a part of you that was never lost. only waiting for permission to reappear. The fire let out a soft pop, and the room seemed to lean into your stillness. Time here had slowed not as a punishment, but as a gift, a reminder that the deepest transformations often come not from doing more, but from simply allowing yourself to be fully, freely, lovingly. As night crept gently over the mountains and the garden settled into slumber, you rested with your book, your tea, your breath, not trying to figure it all out, but pushing toward a breakthrough, just letting your heart be a garden again. Evening had settled in gently. Outside the chalet, the last blush of twilight stretched across the sky in streaks of rose and lavender. The trees whispered softly in the mountain breeze, their new green leaves rustling like a lullaby. The snow that once blanketed this landscape had melted weeks ago, giving way to wildflowers, bright bursts of yellow, violet and soft white peeking through the forest floor. Inside, the air was cool, but carried the subtle scent of fresh earth and blossoms drifting in through the open windows. The fire had burned low, more for ambiance than warmth now, its soft light flickering against the stone hearth. Shadows swayed gently across the wood-paneled walls, like nature's lullaby had followed you indoors. You stood in the center of the library, surrounded by shelves that had become familiar, comforting. The room felt different now, not just quieter, but clearer, lighter, as if the space had mirrored your own soft transformation. The book you carried all this time, the one without a title, was still in your hand, and it felt whole now, heavier not with burden but with meaning. You hadn't filled it with tasks or resolutions. No, its pages now held something far more powerful. Your presence, your breath, your willingness to slow down and truly see yourself. There was no rush to leave, no looming deadline, but something inside you knew it was time. Not to return to the noise of the outside world, but to carry this stillness with you. You moved toward the reading nook once more, letting the weight of the book rest in your lap as you sank into the chair. The blanket, soft and light like a spring shawl, curled around your legs. A breeze slipped through the cracked window, bringing the smell of damp pine and blooming things. Somewhere in the distance, a stream, fed by melted mountain snow, rippled over smooth stones, humming a song older than memory. And within that sound, you heard something deeper, a truth rising gently to the surface. You don't have to run to be free. You don't have to do more to be worthy. You don't have to prove your value by how much you carry. You are already enough. Even here, especially here, in stillness, in softness, in the sacred act of simply being. You closed your eyes and tilted your head back against the chair. You could feel the room breathe with you, could almost hear the flutter of pages as the library exhaled. Everything was alive in this moment, alive and awake, but deeply at peace. This wasn't an escape. It was a return a return to rhythm, a return to light, a return to the tender-rooted version of you that blooms in silence. Outside, the first stars began to appear, twinkling above the treetops like soft reminders of your place in the vast, beautiful order of things. The earth beneath you was not asking for anything. It was holding you, steady, present, whole. The fire dimmed to a golden hush. Your breath slowed, and as sleep approached, not with urgency, but with a gentle tide, you let go of the last threads of worry, of hurry, of the heavy thinking that so often crowds your light. Tonight, you didn't fall asleep to escape the day. You drifted off in celebration of it. And the chalet, wrapped in moonlight and spring air, kept watch over you, not as a destination you'd found, but as a reflection of the home you had always carried within.